All right, everybody. I want to welcome you to our Friday night wealth creation course once again. We do these every single Friday. So this has been about 3 years in a row now where I've come to you every week to talk about finances. So if you guys don't know me yet, my name is Jerry. I'm the owner and founder of a company called Wealth Dynamics. And what we do is we help people build financial independence, financial freedom. So we start with education. And that's what these courses are about every week. So when you guys see me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Uh, it's because I want to share financial education. So that's really the purpose of our courses, these Friday night courses. Now, on the topic of education, it's finances, right? Now, I don't say money because there's different things that go into finances. So we talk about finances because finances are so much of our lives. We grow up now in a culture today where, we get no financial education in high school. If you're like me, most of our parents struggled with money, so we didn't get financial education from them. So we go through school and then we kind of just rely on the professionals, right? The quote unquote professionals, people that have the licenses and they work for the companies and they go to our churches and our BNI groups and our kids go to school together. And we just slowly start piecing together this financial team strictly based off of impulse and instinct. There's no education that goes into it. And then we look at the statistics of the average American right now with retirement, and it's horrendous. I think the average retirement account balance in this country is 30 grand. Okay. The average retiree by age 70, so about 10 years into retirement, statistically will run out of money. So if we look at the beginning of the equation and the end of the equation, it's not good on either side. And so why I do these courses is because finances really are simple. Okay, money is simple, finances are simple, economics are simple. They're made complex by vocabulary, right? And it's important to remember, I remind us all of this every single week. Money is just math. It's add, subtract, multiply, divide. Can I add? Can I subtract? Can I multiply? Can I divide? If I can do all those things, then I can actually understand money. Okay. Now, the beautiful thing is, even if you can't, a calculator can, right? So you just have to be able to understand what it is that you're trying to calculate in order to understand finances. So we're going to be talking tonight about how to pick the right financial team. How do we pick the right players for our team? How do we build our financial team so that we can be wealthy, we can be successful, we can build passive income, all of these great things. Again, it starts with being educated on money, right? Now, a couple things I'm going to dive into. We hit these every week. So number one, we are talking finances. So this is an area that's very complex in some fields, right? And so if I say anything that feels like it went over your head, you didn't understand, it didn't make sense to you, I want you to ask me and I can help you clear that up in the comments. We will answer comments at the very end. So put your questions in the comments. We'll answer those. If you're on Zoom, we'll answer them live on the air. If you're on Facebook, Instagram, anywhere else, we'll answer those just regular on the comments. And then lastly, be respectful, mostly for you guys on Instagram. We seem to get the most trolling and negativity. I'm going to just break this down, and I'm only going to say this once tonight. There are negative people in life. There are positive people in life. Okay. Negative people are critical. Negative people make others wrong. Negative people are distracting. Negative people are vulgar. Negative people take away production from others. Okay. They consume, they don't produce. They consume attention, time, all of this stuff, right? So those people never will be financially free because they don't produce anything, right? So if I'm watching this, I can be that person. Automatically means none of this information can help me. I don't really need to be on the feed at all because I'm a negative person. There's also positive people. Positive people, even if they don't understand something, are supportive. They're willing to learn. They're not distracting. They're respectful of others. They're productive. They ask good questions. They're appropriate. Okay. So it's black and white. There's really that group and the other group. So if I'm watching this and I'm negative and critical, realize I'm negative and critical. That means I'm not going to get far in life. Okay, my life will consist of being broke, watching Instagram feeds, putting negative stuff in the comments. If I'm positive, I have some hope. I can actually build up my net worth, my income, and help others. Okay. So again, producers, consumers, negatives, and positives. Make sure you're self-aware of which one you are tonight in the comments. That's all we're going to say on that. Now, I am excited for tonight's topic because I want to talk about how to build and select the right financial team. Okay, how do we build a team? And we've got to understand when we're building a team, what is this team trying to do? The entire goal of everything that I teach is, number one, we need to get solvent. Solvent, it's a financial term. Solvent means that I earn more than I spend. I own more than I owe. Okay. I'm credit worthy, meaning that I actually have good credit. I can get credit. My assets or my liabilities and risks are protected. That's solvent, right? So if I'm insolvent, it means that I spend more than I make, right? It means that I owe more than I own, right? It means that I don't have my liabilities protected against, right? And so insolvent is the condition of probably 80 to 90% of Americans. And so the first step is to get there. And so I need to understand that that's my first step. I talk about that in my book, Blueprints of Financial Freedom. If I'm solvent, then from solvent, my goal is to build wealth. That's if I'm solvent. If I'm insolvent, my goal is not to build wealth yet. My goal is get solvent. If I'm solvent, meaning I have more money than I earn more than I spend, I own more than I owe, all of those things, then I start building wealth through passive income. Okay. So on both of those sides, we have to have a team. Now, for me, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about me. I was a financial advisor. Okay. I was a financial advisor, a traditional retail, mainstream, whatever you want to call it, for I think 5 or 6 years. I had licenses for stocks, bonds, mutual funds, insurances, you name it. So I'd sit down with people, I would help them build out their retirement plans, and I would help them plan out their finances. Okay. And so for me as a financial advisor or a financial planner, I didn't realize that there was those two phases. I thought everybody fits in the same little cookie cutter plan. Right? If you were interested in money, I was going to tell you, start a Roth IRA, get your 401k match. Let's start putting money in mutual funds, buy term insurance. And then if you keep doing that till you're 60 and then try and pay off all your debt in your house, you can retire. Okay. So the only group that I had was those that were pre-retirement and those that were in retirement. I didn't have any concept. And this was due to my training in the industry. This was the industry training that I got from our federal government, our state governments, our financial institutions as a professional. They didn't teach me, Jerry, there's people that are insolvent that need to become solvent. Here's how you go about doing that. They didn't teach me, Jerry, there's people that are solvent that are trying to build wealth and become financially free with passive income. Here's how you do that. Jerry, there's people that are wealthy that now want to leave a legacy for their families and pass that down generation. Here's how you do that. I didn't learn any of that stuff as a professional. Okay. If I didn't learn that stuff as a professional, what does that mean for the rest of us? Because I actually took the licensing tests. I went through all of the professional stuff that you're supposed to do to be a financial advisor and became one, and never learned any of this. What does that mean for the average person that just went to high school and college? Maybe they didn't even go to college. I didn't go to college. It means people aren't learning this stuff, right? And so if we don't know this, here's the key here from an education standpoint. If we don't know this stuff, then it is impossible for us to build the right team because our teammates might not know it either. This is the mistake that gets made is we start this idea of I want to become financially free. So I'm going to work with a financial advisor. I'm going to hire the right team. Okay. But because we don't know the right stuff, we can't inspect that our teammate that we're about to hire knows the right stuff. So we're relying on their expertise and assuming that they have any at all. And really, sometimes they don't. A lot of times they don't. I've seen some really jacked up plans come from licensed financial advisors. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen here. If you guys are on Zoom, you'll be able to see this. If you're on Facebook, you'll be able to see this. If you guys are on Instagram, I appreciate you guys. You won't be able to see Zoom. It doesn't connect with Instagram. If you'd like to see the screen that we're going to be going over tonight, the whiteboard, you can go to my Facebook page. You can look at the actual screen share that we're about to do on there. Just look me up on Facebook, Jerry Fetta. You'll see it. Okay. Now, this entire thing, this is based on my book that we're going to go over tonight, Blueprints of Financial Freedom. But this entire thing is based on our goal, right? It's based on our goal. This is the top thing. What is our goal? What are we trying to achieve? I'm just going to say, what is life? Because that's really what finances are about. I'm going to dive into some deep stuff tonight. The goal is to live a life that we plan to live, that we intend to live, that we would like to live. That's why we become financially free. Okay. So the goal is like the what. Okay. And then there's also the purpose. What is the goal for? Okay, the purpose, this is like the how. How am I going to achieve this? Okay, so we have our goal and we have our purpose. These are two upper level things that we have to understand before we embark on our financial journey. So like when we're working with clients, when my team sits down and helps people with their finances, the first question that we ask them is, what does financial freedom mean to you? If you were financially free where you no longer had to trade time for money, what would be your why in life? What would you be doing? Okay, why would you want to get there? What would that allow you to do? So we find out what the goal is. Okay. And here's another thing too, is realize the financial freedom aspect does not mean laziness. A lot of times, like when I was growing up and I thought of wealth, I thought, well, that means that I'm rich and I don't have to work anymore and I can live a life of laze and luxury. Right. That's not the reality. If you look at wealthy people, most of them don't stop working. Look at Elon Musk right now. The dude's still working probably 40 to maybe 60 or 70 hours a week because he's free enough to do what he loves. Now, granted, he didn't build his freedom. He borrowed it from you guys. That's what shares do. But he's an example of someone that, in a way, achieved financial freedom. And so because of that, he can spend his time working on Tesla and trying to get to Mars and getting in trouble with the SEC on Twitter and all of this stuff and riling everyone up over Bitcoin. Okay, that's his idea of freedom. It's a full-time thing that he still does, right? So we have to understand, what is life going to look like? And then we also have to look at, what's the purpose? How are we going to get there? What's the method or the vehicle we're going to take to get to that purpose? Okay, now part of this is we've got to look at when, how and when, right? When are we trying to get there? If we're trying to get there, let's say you're like me and you're 28 years old. Okay, I'm 28 years old. I built my net worth up over around $2 million. And I could be financially free where I have passive income that exceeds my savings, expenses, and taxes within a couple of years. Okay, I'm about halfway there. So with that being said, what if you're like me and you're like, man, I want to be there in 5 years or 10 years? That's my when. Then I can't do the traditional route. The traditional route says that you get there when you're 60. The reason why is because we put our money in these retirement plans, the 401k, the IRA, that we can't touch until we're 59 and a half years old. And if we can't touch them till we're 59 and a half years old, I'm 28. That's a freaking long time. That's 30 years still. That means for 30 years, I'm waiting for the light at the end of the tunnel. For 30 years, I'm waiting for my freedom. For 30 years, I'm wondering what I'm going to do when I retire because I have this delayed gratification, but I want to be able to live life now. So that's the entire purpose of this. Now, what I want to share with you, this is from my book. This is called Blueprint to Financial Freedom. And I wrote this last year. If you guys are on Zoom, you might have trouble seeing this, but basically I wrote this last year. And I put together chapter by chapter how someone would go about building financial freedom. Like I said, I'm 28. Okay, so I've been able to get my net worth over $2 million. I've been able to get about half of my passive income already that I need to cover my savings, expenses, and taxes. And that's putting me in the top 1% of wealth in my age group and in income and net worth in lots of different categories. Okay, so how have I been able to do that? I didn't come up with it. Here's the secret. This is not Jerry's secret sauce. Like I said, I used to be a financial advisor. So when I was studying this stuff, I realized the traditional system doesn't work. My test dummy that I found that out with rudely was with my mom. She was my client, my very first client. And at age 60, she died from stage 4 colon cancer. And I was her financial advisor. And the plan was, Mom, we're going to put this money away. We're going to invest it. When you're 60, you can withdraw it. She turns 60 and then 6 months later passes away. As her son, I'm devastated, right? But as a financial advisor, as a professional, I just saw the entire thing that this plan is based on unfolded and blew up in front of my face, and it didn't work. And it not only didn't work, it didn't work with my own mom. And so when I saw that, I started questioning things. I started looking at, is this really how people do it? Is this really, like, where did we get this information of putting money away till we're 60? Where did we get this information of giving money to Wall Street? Where did we get this information about storing money in bank accounts, borrowing money from the bank for consumer financing every time we need to buy something? Where did all this come from? And when I started looking and asking these questions, I got slapped on the wrist a lot by the industry compliance and oversight groups, by my own management, because they didn't like that I was asking those questions, which to me meant that I was on the right track. And so I started pulling that string further and further and further. And what I ended up coming up with was, I realized historically the top 1% of wealth in our country do not do it the way that we're taught. They never have, and they never will. They're not waiting till they're 60. Okay, they're not giving their money to Wall Street. They're not keeping it in banks. They're not doing any of the stuff that we're taught to do. So what are they doing instead? And so that's what I put together in this book. Now, I'm going to read to you a little bit of the chapter 10, which in the book, if you've read this, I wrote it backwards. Okay, so chapter 10 is actually chapter 2, but I'm going to read you guys a little bit here because it dives into this upper level goals and purposes thing that we're talking about. Okay. Because we're talking tonight about building in the right team. So the first thing is we have to identify, like I said, what is our goal here? Our goal is to build wealth, right? The goal is to build wealth, but in order to build wealth, we have to understand what that is. So wealth is abundance and prosperity in all areas of my life, as I like to refer to it. That's my definition. So we look at this goal, right? And we ask, what are we trying to accomplish? We're trying to accomplish abundance and prosperity in every single area of life. So we draw this out as like a pie chart, right? And we look at the different areas of our lives. We have maybe 8 or 10 key areas. We've got, spiritual, we've got mental and emotional, right? These would be the different categories. What else? We've got physical. What else do we have? We've got family, right? We've got familial goals. We've got financial goals. We've probably got professional goals. We've got education or development goals. And then we probably have just some fun goals like travel, right? So these would be, and this is not all of them for everybody. This is just my rough, if we're coming up with this on the spot tonight, this would be the majority of most of the areas in our life. So think about your life right now. There's different categories. You've got spiritual, that's an area of your life. You've got mental and emotional, that's an area of your life. You've got physical, that's an area of your life. You've got your family, that's an area of your life. You've got financial, that's an area of your life. There's professional, education, fun, those are all areas, okay? Now, if I'm thinking about this idea of abundance and prosperity in every single area of my life, that means that if I had to rate these on 100%, every single one of them is 100%. It means that my spiritual life, I'm living at 100%. Mental and emotional, I'm 100%. Family, I'm 100%. Financial, I'm 100%. Professional, I'm 100%. Education, fun, all 100%. Think about the impact of that. Like, what is that? Like this, I know this is very easy to be esoteric and glaze over it and be like, oh yeah, that sounds great. But no, think about literally what if your life looked like that today? Literally, because this is what I thought about. Literally, what if my life looked like that today? What would that look like? What would I think? How would I feel? How would I interact with the world around me? How would I communicate with others? What would it be like for me on a day-to-day basis? Okay, what would my long-term goals look like? What would I be able to achieve? It's like a snowball effect. If I'm here, then this 100% looks even better 5, 10, 15 years down the road, just because I have so much momentum if I'm operating at 100% here. Okay, so that's going to look different for everybody. Everyone's going to have different goals and different ideas of what ideal looks like for each of these categories. But what I want you to ask next is what is that going to cost? How do we fund that financially? For me to have the ability to be 100% on every single one of these areas, what is the financial impact? What is the requirement? For me to be 100% like spiritual health, how much money do I need to spend on doing that? Not even that it's about money. It's that for me, spiritual, I go to a church, I interact with a group that does take finances. I've got to travel. I've got to get there. I like to help out. Part of me, spiritual fulfillment is giving. So there's going to be money that I need to give, right? Mental and emotional health. How much money is it going to take for me to be like mentally 100% on track? Okay. Physical, eating organic, working out every day, right? Taking the right supplements, like that alone is several $1,000s a month. Okay, what about raising my family and having a great life there? What does that financially take? Okay, what about for my own financial goals? Right? Like these are all stuff we've just covered. These are things that require finances, but they aren't the object of finances themselves. What would I like to achieve financially? I've heard clients say, hey, I want to own, 10,000 real estate units. Right? That's a financial goal. What does it take for me to get there? Financially, I need to do the math on that. What about my professional goals? I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars developing myself professionally. Okay, I've got to be able to fund that. Education. I don't know about you. I did public education. I didn't learn jack squat, guys. Like I got done and I don't know what I learned. I didn't know how to apply it. There's some basic things I remember, but most of it, I don't remember what it was. That was not a great education. So what if I wanted to be fully educated at the top of my game? How much does that cost? Just think about, like, you could look at private school tuition rates. What does college cost? Okay, what if you wanted to put yourself through school? What if you wanted to do alternative education? What does that cost? And then lastly is fun. How much does it cost to have a good time? I learned this one early. I lived in Alaska and I couldn't even hike for free. We're freaking surrounded by mountains. And if I want to go hike, it costs $10 to park in the state campground and buy one of those little things so that my car doesn't get towed away for parking illegally, so that I can go hike everybody's mountain. It's a public mountain, but it costs money to hike. So what does it cost for me to have a good time? Okay, what if I want to travel? Right? What if I want to experience like different cultures and foods? I'm a foodie. I love food. Okay? Just the eating side of having fun is going to be expensive. So I have to understand, to live abundantly and prosperous in all areas of my life is not a cheap venture. And I also have to have the guts to admit that it's not happening now. It's not happening now. If I were to rate myself on each of these and ask, where am I at today out of 100%? Am I 20? Am I 50%? Am I 75%? Right? I have to be honest with myself and confront the fact that I'm not 100% spiritual right now. Right? My physical condition is not 100% of where it could be. My family is not 100% of what they could be. Right? So we have to really stop living in denial to confront this. These are big questions. This is our purpose and our why. We can't even begin to build financial freedom if we don't understand where we're going and what does it look like, and really painting that picture. Okay. So I'm going to read a little bit more from my book. Again, this is Blueprint to Financial Freedom. If you guys don't have a copy of this, by the way, go to jerryfetta.com /B2F. So Jerry Fetta, my first and last name, the letter B, the number 2, the letter F. But I want to read a little bit more. So we talked abundance and prosperity in every single area of life. Now, there's another element to wealth, and that element is freedom. So I want to break this down. The other element of wealth is freedom. Freedom is a very important and special word to me. Wealth at its root etymology. Etymology means where a word came from. Wealth at its root etymology refers to happiness, prosperity, well-being, and even health and overall welfare of an individual. So if you go to dictionary.com and you look up the word wealth and you find the etymology of where that word came from and how it was originally used, the word wealth did not refer to finances. It referred to happiness. It referred to prosperity. It referred to well-being. It referred to physical and mental health, right? And then the overall welfare of an individual. So it's a lot more than just money. It goes way beyond money. That's all this stuff we just talked about. But the reality is, if we're all honest about it, it's going to take money to get those things. Not that money is what life is made of, but it means that everything costs something. We live in a world right now where anything you want to do costs money. Okay, everything we want to do costs money. So we have to have finances to get there. Now, freedom is a big part of wealth. We mentioned freedom, right? So I want to talk about freedom as well, right? So wealth is this idea of all of these areas are tracking, they're maxed out, they're doing as well as they can do. Freedom at its root etymology refers to being in a state of complete free will. Okay, complete free will. Freedom equals 100% free will. Okay, this is so important for me because I didn't grow up in a state of freedom. I grew up in a state of fear. I grew up in a state of restriction. I grew up in a state of financial uncertainty. I grew up in a state of conflict around finances. I didn't have freedom. So freedom means I have 100% free will. Okay. So a complete state of free will. And then it says, and even a state of deliverance from the opposite. So this is deliverance from bondage. I sent a client of mine today a video on how the US dollar is made. Okay. The US dollar literally is a state of financial bondage. Any one of us that has to trade time for money, we are freaking handcuffed. We're slaves financially. And I know that that's very strong language, but if you understand the concept of how the system works, it's 100% that. Just try and break out and see what happens, right? So freedom means that I have 100% free will and I have no bondage in my life. Nothing holds me back. Nothing ties me down. Okay. So what is free will? Free will means that if I want to do something, I can. And if I don't want to do something, I don't. Think about that. Like within the realms of like what's physically possible and biologically possible, am I in a condition within my life where if I decided I wanted to do something, I literally could? I want to go to Egypt. Boom. Can I do that? Right. I want to donate $1 million and bless this group. Boom. Can I do that? Right. I want to eat organic every single day. Boom. Can I do that? If I can't, I don't have freedom. Okay. I know that we're told we live in a free country. Okay, that's political propaganda. I want you to look at in your life, in my life, what areas are actually free, right? When I first started out on this, I didn't have a lot of freedom. I could choose basic things like what time I was going to wake up, right? I could choose to a degree what I was going to eat. Okay, I could control when I was going to go to the bathroom. I could control if I was going to go to work that day, right? I could control if I was going to exercise, how I was going to dress to a degree. But things like eating organic, I couldn't do that. Deciding when I was going to work, I couldn't do that because if I didn't work, yeah, I had the freedom to not do it, but I would lose my job and then I wouldn't be able to pay my bills. So I really couldn't do that, right? I didn't have the freedom to pick what I was going to drive. I didn't have the freedom to pick a lot of things in my life. Okay, now we can be reasonable about that and say, well, be grateful for what you have. And there's people that are worse off. Yeah, but there's also people that are better off. So as long as we're playing the game of comparisons, if I've got to pick the people that are worse off, the same as, or better than, I'm going to pick better than. Right? Every single one of us would. It doesn't mean that we're taking it from someone else. It means you could do better in life. I could do better in life. Do I have free will to really live the way that I want to? The other one was bondage. Deliverance from bondage. For me, this is one that hit me very hard. This goes back to when my mom passed away. So this is when I was, starting my business up part-time and also still delivering pizza. Right. So my mom got sick, and I told this story last week, but my mom got sick after about 6 months with colon cancer. She passed away. Okay. She passed away on December 28th. At the time, I was working a pizza delivery job. Okay, it's one of those jobs. Anyone that's ever worked shift work understands this. If you get time off, someone has to cover for you. If you can't find someone to cover for you, then you have to go to work. And if you don't show up to work, you don't get the job. You've lost the job and you're fired. Right? It's a very like whimsical, hanging by a thread type of employment. So I was a pizza delivery job driver working that shift. This is Christmas Day. Okay, Christmas Day. My mom passes away 3 days later. We all kind of knew she was going to pass away soon. I couldn't get time off work to spend Christmas with her. Okay. If that's not bondage, I don't know what is. That's literally like one of the people you care about most in life. You can't go spend time with them. Because if I don't, then I don't have my job tomorrow when I show back up to work because I couldn't get someone to cover my shift because that was the condition I was in financially. So this idea of freedom and bondage is so important, and to understand as well, like, what does that look like? What does life look like if we're completely free? What does life look like if we have nothing holding us back? Okay, because everyone here has people in their life that matter, that are important, and we've got to know, all right, what does freedom look like for me to be able to spend time with these people, do these things, create these things? So wealth means that I'm happy, prosperous, healthy, and free in all areas of my life, and that I operate from a state of true free will. Okay, that's optimal. That's what we're trying to get to. Now, this is where it takes a plan. We've got to have a plan to get there. And then we've also got to have a team that is on board with that plan. So we're going to talk about how do we pick the right team? How do we pick the right team to get there? Okay. The first thing that we've got to look at is we have to pick people that understand and agree with everything that I just said. If you're watching this and you're like, yep, I prescribe to the same belief system. I want financial freedom. I don't want to wait till I'm 60. I don't want to be in bondage. I want financial abundance and prosperity in every single area of my life. Then you cannot pick someone that doesn't also agree with that for their own life. Okay, it's the definition of like, let's say that I am a pilot. My job is to fly planes. I fly planes only to Texas because that's my route. And you tell me, Jerry, I don't want to go to Texas. I want to go to London. And I'm like, oh, wow, London sounds great. I don't go to London. I go to Texas, but I can sell you a ticket anyways because Texas is really nice. If you get on my plane, you will not go to London. You'll go to Texas. Your goal was to go to London, right? So this is the equivalent of working with a financial professional and building a financial team that's not going to the same place you are. It doesn't matter that I go to your church. It doesn't matter that our kids know each other. It doesn't matter that I won best insurance salesman in the community by Business Networking International, your BNI group. Like none of that stuff matters. It's I'm going to this destination. Are you going there too? Can you get me to that destination? You've got to be able to describe it, and you have to be able to tell them what it is, how it is, when it is, why it is. All of those things have to be in place. Okay. Most of you guys, if you sat down and said, I want to be financially free in 10 years, can you help me do that? The financial dude's going to be like, I can't promise anything. I'm not allowed to make promissory statements, but we can diversify and give you a risk structured portfolio, but they're not going to be able to tell you, yeah, I can get you there. So we're talking about getting people that are on track with that. Now I want to tell you the description of my company because it's something that I built tailor made for this. So if you're a client, this is going to give you some idea behind why we do what we do and what our company is built around. If you're not, even if you are, but if you're not, this is also going to give you a standard of comparison. Okay, what does a good company look like? Okay, because my company is not the same as what you see out there. So basically, we've got to look at a couple of things. So my company is called Wealth Dynamics. Okay, and I'm just going to break this down for you guys. My company is called Wealth Dynamics. Wealth, we talked about already. We've defined that, right? So we said abundance and prosperity. We said freedom. We said, which means, again, free will. And it also means no bondage. Right? These are all the things wealth means. Okay. And then dynamics, these are the different areas of my life. I've got different dynamics in my life. I believe there's 8 of them. So the dynamics are the different areas of my life. These are the areas that I'm trying to fund. I want freedom and abundance and prosperity in all of these areas, right? So the areas of my life that matter to me, right? So my company, Wealth Dynamics, that's what it is. Now, descriptively, I like to relate wealth to the ability to treat money like oxygen. So if you're watching this, think about when you breathe, like take a breath in really quick, right? Did you count that? Like, were you counting how many units of oxygen came in comparison to how many units of oxygen are available in your immediate surrounding environment? No, right? You just breathe, right? Did you worry about if you were going to run out of oxygen? No, because you just know there's plenty of it. Now, if you breathed in subconsciously, you didn't even know you did it. You also breathed out. It just happens. It's natural conditioning. It's how our bodies work. When you breathed out, did you consider that you didn't fully optimize the amount of oxygen that you took into your lungs and that you might be wasting some before you let it out? No, that's ridiculous. Nobody does that. Right? So when we breathe, it's free. That's free will. If I want a breath, got one, right? Let it out. It's done. I'm gone, right? I also have no bondage. I'm not stuck breathing in. Imagine breathing in and then it gets stuck and you can only be in a continual state of breathing in. That's called bondage. That's holding me back, right? Or being stuck breathing out and you couldn't get more, right? So this is a good example. So I like to say that wealth is the ability to treat money like oxygen. And I think that gives us a lot of reality because we all breathe. We all understand the freedom that we have in breathing and how much oxygen there is and that there's no problem with it. Anyone that's ever, almost drowned or had breathing issues or had asthma or whatever, you understand when there's restriction there, it's scary, right? Financially, we live like that every day. But needless to say, the ability to treat money like oxygen. I want you to pay attention to that phrase. Okay. So this is the first key. If I'm going to hire a teammate, do they believe that? Do they believe that wealth is the ability to treat money like oxygen? Okay, most professionals don't. Most professionals, their financial plan is centered around you and I building up a nest egg of money. So it's breathing in and holding as much of our breath in as we possibly can. And then when you turn 60, you can start to distribute it or breathe out. And hopefully you die before the money runs out because they don't want you to run out of money. All of them will talk about this. This is the classic. The number 1 and 2 fear for all retirees is earning more than they spend and making sure that they don't outlast their money. So we're already on the basis of, no, this person, if they're thinking that way, doesn't believe in the ability to treat money like oxygen because they're building you a model of breathing in and storing those breaths and holding them for as long as you can so that over time you can slowly breathe out again without dying. That's not financial freedom. Okay, so that's the first thing. So think about that. Now, the other thing I want to go over here is if we look at the idea that wealth is also spiritual, right? So I believe this is, again, from my book, Blueprint to Financial Freedom. I believe that wealth is spiritual. For someone to live abundantly in all 8 of their dynamics or their areas of their life, it's inherently spiritual. For someone to do that, they need to be able to pay for it. And in a way, they're completely unrestricted by money, treating money like oxygen. So if I'm trying to live completely unrestricted in all areas of my life, then if I'm prolonging that till I'm 60, For me, I'm 28, right? So if I wait till I'm 60, that's 32 years. What condition am I living in for the next 32 years? That's not freedom, right? That's not abundance and prosperity. That means for the next 32 years, I'm going to be a financial slave so that for the last 10 or 20, I can be free. No, that's the opposite of what I'm saying. That they're literally saying just serve your time. Like, you ever seen like those lawyer movies where the lawyer's defending the guy and you can tell the guy, he wants to plead innocent and be let off, but the lawyer's like, no, take the plea deal. Tell them you did it and just pay the time. Okay, that's what your financial advisor does when he says wait till you're 60 and build up the nest egg. He's saying just pay the time. Just serve the time. It's not that bad. Work for the next 20 to 30 years. And then hopefully you've got enough built up that you can live off of it and enjoy the rest of your life. Here's the thing, like back to the idea of having different areas of my life. If I want to have fun and I want that 100%, can I have fun better when I'm 28 or when I'm 65? The whole hiking thing, right? I'm not going to hike when I'm 70. I might. It's not going to be the same experience though as when I'm 28 years old. Okay, so we have this idea of freedom. Now, for most of us, we look at this area and we look at, okay, how can I get there? So if we look at this idea of spirit, so we said wealth is spiritual, right? So I said wealth is spiritual. If we're going to live abundantly and prosperous in all areas of our life, what does that look like? And we look at the etymology of the word spirit. This is trippy. So I said wealth is abundance and prosperity in all areas of our life to the degree that we can treat money like oxygen. By doing that, that's innately spiritual. The etymology or the root of the word spirit is breathe. Isn't that nuts? All of this stuff is connected up. So we look at this idea of wealth being spiritual, being able to breathe freely with finances. And then we look at the word spirit and it literally comes from the word breathe. To me, that was amazing. My mind blew when I read that. So here's the other thing is we have to get someone on our team that also looks at it that way. Okay, they're not just product oriented. Okay, they're not just the nerd that can tell you what mutual funds to buy and how to diversify between different market capitalizations and different sectors and whatever. Like that stuff is the technical aspect of it. But does this person believe money is abundant and do they believe it's spiritual? And are they trying to help me live an abundant and prosperous life? Okay, so we have to break that down. Now, to treat money like oxygen is to breathe, which is spiritual by nature. Wealth is much more than just money and personal happiness. Wealth, to me, includes that, but goes beyond. Now, the final part of this in my logo is the letter X, right? So my company is Wealth Dynamic X. There's a reason that's an X. Okay, I thought of all this as we built the company because I was like, what does the ideal team look like? What does their belief system need to look like? What do their values need to look like? What would I want to be working with? Who would I want to be working with? So whenever I tell people the name of my company, they misspell it. They spell dynamics like DYNAMICS, right? Ours is just DYNAMX. And people are like, why is there an X there? Okay. So the final part of my company name is the X in our logo. The reason we are Wealth Dynamic X and not Wealth Dynamic X is because an X represents human potential, right? So think about in math. When you have a number to the X power, that's called an exponent. It represents potential value. Okay. So it's a multiplier. So an exponent is an unknown factor that contains a multiplying power. For most people, money is that unknown factor that when understood and applies, multiplies the power with which they can live. Okay, any one of my clients that's watching this that has hit that stride, right, where you're earning more income than you ever have, you're saving more income than you ever have, maybe you've started investing and bringing in passive income, true or false, your life multiplied when that happened. Like you were able to do more at work. You were able to do more for your family. You were able to do more for your church because of those aspects. Money allows that to happen. Wealth allows that to happen. And so that's the reason why we are Wealth Dynamic X is we believe by helping you build wealth, you're building up your potential. It's like that snowball effect that I mentioned. Okay. So that's the other thing is you have to get someone on your team as you're picking your financial team that understands your potential. Not meaning that they know what it is, that they have an understanding regarding it, that they have an understanding of what their role is in helping you achieve it, in helping you become financially educated. Because here's the thing, guys, if I go and hire whatever person on my team based on a Yelp review or a referral from a friend or the fact that they go to my church, whatever it would be, right? If I don't look at that and say, okay, this person needs to help me unlock my potential. They need to help me unlock my potential. then I'm going to go through this and I'm going to get loaded up with a bunch of products. I'm going to be uneducated. I'm going to be uneducated. If I'm uneducated, I cannot be free. I cannot own my potential. If you look back at political regimes, this goes for Germany. This goes for the United States right now. This goes for Africa. This goes for any country or continent that's ever been put in slavery or bondage. Do you know how they started? They started by restricting people's educations, holding education so that they didn't understand what was happening around them, so that they weren't literate, so that they couldn't read, so that they couldn't solve problems. The stupider the people were, the easier they were to put into bondage. Okay. So I'm not saying that your financial advisor is making you stupid so they can put you into bondage. He doesn't know any of this stuff. But if I hire him or her and they're not completely aware that their job is to take me out of bondage by giving me information about money that frees me and opens my life up, then by nature of that, I'm going to be in bondage. Now, here's the thing. He or she is not putting me into bondage, but guess what? Their bosses are. Their bosses are full aware of it. Their bosses are banks and Wall Street. That's the only job that Wall Street and the banking industry has, is to put us into bondage. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, how on every single thing we do financially in life today, somehow the banks, Wall Street, and the IRS get a cut of it. Everything, right? And the only way out of that is through education. And so I can't get educated if I'm just working with someone that their goal is to hook me up with a product and not help me with any of this other stuff. Okay. So this is why we split this in. Now, the X that we have on our logo is actually like this. It's a flame, and then it's got two other flames off of it. There's 3 flames there, right? So you've got to have someone that understands this. There's the wealth is split into 3 parts: earn, save, invest. Earn, save, invest. When is the last time, if you've ever worked with a financial advisor, when is the last time you sat down with them and they talked to you about you earning more income? This is unheard of. When I was a financial advisor, they don't talk to you about earning more income. They talk to you about living below your means. And then whatever income you do have, they talk to you about putting that in their mutual funds. They never say, Jerry, increase your income. How can you go make more money? Guess what? That's a conversation we have with virtually every client we work with, because the wealth only happens if we earn, save, invest, right? When we talked about saving 40% of your income. I can't do that if I've got debt, if I'm paying over what I should be paying in taxes, if my housing costs are racked up because I've got the wrong kind of mortgage, right? So a financial advisor or a financial teammate should be helping me increase my savings rate. They should also be concerned about where I'm saving the money. And then finally, investing. Investing should yield more income. So if they're putting me in stuff that doesn't produce more income, they're doing me a disservice. Okay. So this is all stuff just based on my company logo. This is what we look at. And the funny thing is when you add all this stuff up, it all aligns with the equation that we're trying to solve here. The equation is passive income greater than savings, expenses, and taxes. When? As soon as possible, right? So we're trying to do this in the shortest amount of time possible with the least amount of risk possible. Okay. And that's what gets us financially free. So by having all of this aligned, we're able to actually get there. Now, again, if I'm not in agreement, let's say that I'm your financial guy and I don't know any of this stuff and you bring me on your team. If I'm not in agreement with you on you funding a life of abundance and prosperity in all areas, then I'm not going to know what you need for passive income. Okay. Do you know what the average financial advisor does to come up with passive income? They look at what is 60 to 80% of what you currently earn. 60 to 80%. So if I'm making 10,000 a month, they're going to say, Jerry, when you retire, because your kids are grown and out of the house, and hopefully you've paid off the house and the car, you really only need $6,000 to $8,000 a month, which is less than I have now. Like I said, if I'm making 10 grand a month now, why would I work so hard for 32 years to then have less money than I have today? Okay. So they're going to get the passive income number wrong, which means that my savings, expenses, and taxes aren't going to be covered as a result. Right? The savings are important because when I'm financially free, I still need to save 40% of my income, which means I can't just build up the nest egg and distribute it out over time. I need to have income being produced, some of that income covering my living expenses, right? Like I said, expenses. But before that, I'm reinvesting 40% of it off the top because that's the successful action that got me there in the first place. If I violate that, then I take out the thing that made me in the position I'm in. Okay. And then the expenses is next. I need to cover my living expenses. Taxes are last. You know what? You want to know why taxes are last? Because if you have the right person on your team, taxes aren't going to be something you worry about. Okay. Here's the difference between a corporation and an individual. Corporations' income, when they get profits, it goes like this: savings, expenses, then taxes. As a corporation, I don't pay my taxes first. I pay myself first, put money in my sacred accounts, buy gold, etc. I pay my bills next, my salary, my operating costs. And then at the end of the quarter or the end of the year, I pay my taxes after I've paid everything else. Okay. The individual, it's backwards. For the individual and the family, what happens? We earn our W-2 income. What comes off the top before we ever get our check? Taxes. Okay. And then we look at expenses next. We finally get paid, and then savings happen last, if they happen at all. Literally is flipped. Why is that? Like, I just showed that, and everyone understands that we should pay the taxes last. We should pay ourselves first. We should earn our income, pay ourselves, spend what we want to spend, then pay Uncle Sam. So why would we do it backwards? We would do it backwards because no one's ever told us not to. This is this backwards method of taxes first, expenses, and then pay ourselves last. Probably 80 to 90% of people do this. I meet wealthy people that do this. I meet people that make $200,000 or $300,000 a year that do this backwards. The reason why is because of the people they have on their team. They're getting the wrong advice. They're getting opinions instead of education. Okay, that's the other thing, is you've got to look at advice versus knowledge. I don't give financial advice. Okay, if you look at the root of the word advice, it actually comes from the word opinion. Oddly enough, let's just survey. What do you guys think of opinions? When somebody gives you an opinion, are you usually excited? Okay, do you usually believe it? Is it usually something you take as word, and you're like, yeah, their opinion runs my life? No, usually we don't like opinions. It's kind of like, dude, keep your opinion to yourself. Everyone has an opinion. It doesn't mean that everyone is right and that their opinion matters, especially when it's about my life and your life, right? So why would we take an opinion from someone that doesn't understand where we're trying to go? They don't understand abundance and prosperity and freedom and all of this stuff that we talked about in free will. They don't understand any of that. And they're probably not even doing it themselves yet. We're going to get opinions from them. Okay. Versus knowledge. The reason that I am teaching this course is because I have knowledge. I'm 28 years old, and I've packed within the last 10 years of my life, probably 2 or 3 lifetimes of financial knowledge in, and then I direct you guys to the knowledge. My clients know I'm notorious for this. When you ask a question, I don't tell you my opinion. I give you a reference. I'm like, great, here's the tax code for that. Read it. Here's what John Rockefeller says about that. Read it. Here's what this says. Here's what that says, because that's knowledge, right? Knowledge means that I know something, I understand it, and I can apply it because of that. And then I can do it correctly. If I'm doing stuff backwards, it's because I'm operating off of opinions instead of knowledge. Okay. Now, the other thing that I want to go over on this, we've kind of talked about the triangle of wealth, but I want to talk about doing things in the right sequence as well. Okay. So this is a little bit of the financial business model, if you want to call it this, right? So we've got, let's say we've got the average financial advisor. We'll call this mainstream. Okay, then we've got like Wealth Dynamics. This will be our comparison, which is my company. Mainstream, right? So when we go to a mainstream financial advisor, we sit down with them. What usually happens? Okay, they usually start talking to us about retirement. That's the jumping off point. What does retirement look like? Are you planning ahead? Do you have a retirement? Are you doing a 401k? Are you doing a Roth IRA? Yada, yada, yada. Did you know, oddly enough, the word retire actually at its root means retreat? Did you guys know that? When you retire, you're actually retreating. You're throwing up a white flag at life and saying, I'm done. I quit. I can't stand this anymore. I need to run the other direction. And please don't kill me when I do. That is literally the etymology, the root of the word retirement. Why in the world, like I said, would I live 32 years to build a life that I need to retreat from when I turn 60? That sounds like a terrible idea. People my age, you guys that are 20, 25, 30, 35, you guys get this because we watched our parents do it. We watched mom and dad work jobs that they hated, complaining about the bills, complaining about the debt, to then get to their golden years where they don't even have enough money to enjoy them. That's not the lifestyle I want, right? But that's the starting point. And then they're going to go through and they're going to sell you whatever they can, right? So they're going to give you whatever you're interested in. Now, I relate this to going to like a buffet versus going to fine dining. Working with a financial advisor is like a buffet. Okay. So you go to a buffet. What do? You look at the menu and you're like, I'll take a little bit of that. I'll take a little bit of that. And you start adding all of these financial particles with no particular order. Your financial advisor will just answer your questions. And when you say you're ready to buy something, they'll sell it to you, right? In no particular order. So you're like, okay, well, I'm going to do the 401k. Let me add that to my plate. Okay, I want to buy a house because my friends and family are buying houses. So how do I do that? Good. I need to buy a couple new vehicles. By the way, we have kids. We should really talk about college planning. Let's set up a couple of those accounts. What do you know about life insurance? Because now we have kids. We should really have life insurance. Let's add some of that to the plate. And what ends up happening is confusion. Okay, confusion. Confusion is random particle flow. It means that I have all these different things going on in my financial world. I don't understand what they are, where they came from, what I do with them. And it just starts floating around and I feel disorganized and I feel like I don't understand my money anymore. That's what happens when you go to a buffet. Let's be honest. Do you ever feel good after you finish eating? Okay, I'm going to tell you guys a story. When I grew up in Anchorage, there's a restaurant we had called the Royal Fork. Okay, the Royal Fork was Golden Corral before Golden Corral ever existed. Okay, the Royal Fork was the ultimate buffet. You could get anything you wanted there. They had room after room after room of like chicken and this and that and steaks and pizzas and everything you could imagine. Okay, the bathrooms at the Royal Fork were disgusting. The reason why is people would go in there, they would eat and gorge themselves until they threw up and they go into the bathroom and vomit. So the bathroom was always covered in vomit and stunk, right? That's what happens when you eat at a buffet. You should expect that. You eat too much, what happens? You get overweight, you get slow, you can't move as well, you're sluggish, you don't feel good. Financially, that's what happens when you work with a buffet or a mainstream financial advisor and they randomly load you up on a bunch of products. Okay. We don't do that. I don't believe in that at all. Okay. Same thing. You can do that, or you can also do specialty, right? This is like the fast food model. So you have the financial advisor that will give you everything, or you have the financial advisor that's like a KFC or a McDonald's. They only sell chicken. They only sell burgers. And you like them, so you frequent them. And every time you want some chicken, you go and you buy some chicken, right? Now, just like any other restaurant, they might have some other things on the menu, but it's not like their specialty. You go to KFC, they're about chicken. If you want chicken, you go there. You probably don't get a burger from KFC. Chicken sandwich, probably not even that. That's not their forte, right? So there's financial advisors like that too, where someone's like, man, I want chicken. And if I go eat at KFC every single day, the same thing happens as the buffet. I get sluggish, I get fat, I can't move as well. Okay, just like if I load up on only these financial products and keep buying the same things over and over and over, and I go based off of selection, then I end up with a malnourished financial life too. Right? So those are the current things happening in the industry. So when someone comes to me and is like, I don't know what to do, what should I tell you? It's because they're used to the buffet. They're used to just looking at the outlay of everything and like, I'll take a little of this and a little of that and a little of this, and they can just build it out. They don't think about what they're going to feel like after they have it all. Okay. Or I have the people that are like, they're very specified on like, I want Bitcoin. Can you help me with the Bitcoins? I want to buy the Bitcoins. Or they just want the mutual fund, or they just want life insurance and they're looking for the chicken. They're like, I go to KFC and I want chicken, right? Those are not models that build wealth. Okay, I want you to think about, what is the nicest restaurant you've ever been to? Think about that, the nicest restaurant you've ever been to. We have someone actually from France. Think about a French 5-star Michelin restaurant. Okay, you go in and they serve you first a salad. You don't ask for a salad. That's just what you get. When you go to a nice restaurant, that is the first thing they will give you. They will give you a salad. Okay, next they give you some soup. You don't pick the soup or ask for the soup. They give you the house soup because that's what works. That's what they give you because that's part of their process. Okay. Then you go into maybe an appetizer. They might bring you some bread or something to whet your palate, right? They don't give you that because you've ordered it. And it's not a buffet where you're like, hey, can I just have an appetizer? You're like, no, you go to a good restaurant and you tell the chef, I'm going to bypass the soup and the salad and just get the appetizer. They're going to get offended. Anyone that's been to a nice restaurant knows exactly what I mean. You do not skip the courses. Okay, then you go into your main course, and then you have your side dishes, right? You have some sides and different things that come out, and then you usually have your dessert, right? And then you're going to top it off with coffee or tea or, some liquor, and then they're going to give you usually some kind of like a mint or a palate cleanser, and then you're going to be on your merry way. Okay, they don't let you go out of order. because they understand food, because they're experts. A 5-star chef knows things about food that you and I never could even imagine existed. Okay, and if we go marching into his restaurant and we're like, screw everything, you know, I want steak and I want it now, and I don't want your salad, I don't want your soup, and I don't want your this, I want chicken, right? Or we go in and we're like, I want a little of this and I want a little of this and I want a little of this. That's not going to fly there. And guess what? It's also going to be a worse meal. Anyone that's had this meal here versus the chicken at KFC or the buffet, how did you feel after you finished like the 5-star restaurant? You felt good. You didn't feel overstuffed. Okay. You didn't feel sluggish. You didn't feel like you needed to go to the bathroom and vomit. You didn't feel guilty for eating a bunch of chemicals and garbage in your food. It was a good experience. And guess what? These are organized. That is the difference. My entire point with this illustration is a good financial team knows what you should do, how to do it the right way, and when to do it. They're not going to give you dessert first. They're going to say, no. This is why on our company, we have phases on our blueprint. We don't let our clients skip steps. Okay. Skipping steps is like they come in and they're like, I want chicken. I want the appetizer. Okay, good. You're still going to do the salad first. The reason being is we're trying to create an end result. This goes back to what we said at the very beginning, and I'm going to wrap up after this. We're trying to create an end result. We already know what the end result is. My company's end result is to help you get passive income that exceeds your savings, expenses, and taxes so that you can have abundance and prosperity in all areas of your life, have complete free will, have no bondage whatsoever in your life that holds you back, and be able to treat money like oxygen. We already know what that looks like. Okay. You have your own flavor on what you're going to do and how you're going to do it when you get there, but we already know what we need to accomplish for you to be in that situation. We already know the entire scene. Everyone is like that. It's a matter of when you do get there uniquely, what's your number? When is it going to happen? And what are you going to do personally when you get there? But we already know you have a number, we have a timeline, and this is what it's going to look like mathematically to get there. We already know the end result. Because we already know the end result, which is how you feel when you're done with this meal, right? We're going to work our way backwards. What is the last thing you're going to do before this happens? What about right before that? What about right before that? What about right before that? All the way down to the first thing, right? So a good financial teammate, a good financial partner, a good financial strategist is going to look at what is the entire lineup of things you need to do in sequence. Which ones have you done? Which ones have you not done? I get people that'll come to me and they're like, yeah, we've already had the coffee, but we didn't do any of this stuff. That's great. I'm not giving you a mint next. We're going to go back and have salad. Right. So if I come to, like, I had a guy that's like, I bought Bitcoin and now I'm a millionaire. We talk about the accredited investor. That guy's not accredited yet. There's a lot we have to do before he's actually accredited. You can't just buy Bitcoin and be like, I'm a millionaire. Right. So we're going to go back and look at, great, well, you still have, let's say, consumer debt. We have to pay that off and get rid of that before you can even be solvent, because you're not going to do accredited investments when you're insolvent. And then once you're solvent, we need 6 months built up in reserves. You need to have proper credit worthiness. You need to have all your liabilities covered, because I'm not going to stick you in a foreign currency deal that probably will make you 30%, but also could lose everything and then find out that you don't have any money saved. Right. Or we get to the point where we are solvent and we've never done a deal before, and we're excited about these accredited deals and these family office deals, and we're trying to jump in those, but it's like, you've never done one yet. We've never even had an appetizer. Right. So all of this stuff matters. Like everything we talked about tonight matters. And then what matters on like most, doing the right thing at the right time in the right sequence. Okay. Not to do that is actually going to hinder financial goals. It ends up turning into the buffet, the messy plate of everything, where we don't understand what we just ate. It tasted good when we had it. We don't remember what it was, and now we feel bad. Right. So guys, that's what I want to talk about. I know that we covered a lot tonight. I want to open this up for some questions. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open this up, and we're going to cover Instagram questions first. We'll see if Instagram has any questions, mostly because my phone is about to die. Aaron, good to see you. Let's see who we got here on Instagram, if there's any questions to go over. Nothing so far. Good to see everybody. Good to see everybody. Thank you all for joining, by the way. Shweta says, I'm a big fan of yours. Thank you. We really appreciate you. She says she is a foodie as well. That's awesome. I think deep down everybody is. I don't know a person that's like, yeah, I don't like food. Let's see here. Someone says Trump 2021. I think it's a bit late for that. That's okay though. All right, that's all I see on Instagram. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap up Instagram for tonight. We're gonna hit our questions on Facebook first. All right, so let's see what we have on Facebook. Tyler, good to see you. Justin, good to see you. Ryan, good to see you. Brad, great to see you. Justin said, just here to learn how to be a Brazilianaire. Nano can help you with that. Nano is from Brazil. I love the goal. Tyler said, let's get double-digit shares tonight. Yeah, go guys. If this helped you, definitely share it. Facebook has changed their algorithm, so people don't see content organically like they used to anymore. So the best way that you guys can help me is share the content. If more people share it, there's more engagement, more interactions, more people see this. And as you guys have seen and can see, someone could watch this and literally have their life changed in the matter of the hour that they watched it. Todd, great to see you. Slavic, good to see you. Steve, good to see you. Justin, good to see you. Justin can hook you up with the supplements. That's a good point though. Like if you want to be, like we said, like financially, physically wealthy, like Justin can give you like, all right, this is what you should be taking. This is what you should be doing. He's got a business with Plexus, so he can tell you exactly that. And it's not cheap. And it shouldn't be. Like if I'm trying to be healthy, it shouldn't be cheap. It should be something I invest in. Marcus, good to see you. Jerry. Marcus says, hi, Jerry. Hope all is well. My question is, what would be a good time to call and talk one-on-one if you do something like that? My brother Matty sent me your number. Let me know. We can definitely get you a call set up with Nano on our team. Steve says, rest in peace to your mother. Thank you. Appreciate that. Josiah says, oh, Josiah's coming to LA. Awesome. That's cool. Justin says, my life has multiplied since working with Wealth Dynamics. That is awesome to hear. Michael Kerrigan, good to see you. Josiah says passive income greater than savings, expenses, taxes. Got it. He's got his target. Dan, good to see you. I know Dan just came on board with us as a client. Great to see you here tonight. Josiah says you're straight up all walk. Let's get it, man. Michael put Raising Cane's with a crying face. I don't know what that means. But knowing Mike, I think I know what it means. And having eaten Raising Cane's, I know what that means as well. Justice says, I am a step skipper and Jerry doesn't let me skip steps. That is another reason I continue to work with them. That's awesome. Ryan says this lecture was made for my dad and I. We want to skip steps. That's why we need you, Jerry. I love that people see that. Like, so get this. There are people, when I show them the steps, they get frustrated because we've never heard that there are steps before. But if you study the wealthy people, they all did it in the same sequence. They might have did it a little bit different, but they all did it in the same sequence. So skipping steps, it's like violating hundreds of years of proven methodology, usually not based on anything but our own impatience. Guys, I'm the least patient person you know. So when I was coming up with this and I was researching and I realized, shit, there's steps. I hate that. I had to go back. I was literally investing and I was like, wow, I skipped this step. I need to go backwards and do that. This summer, I made up like 3 or 4 steps that I had personally skipped. When I came across it as I was researching, I was like, all right, I need to go back and do these myself. So realize the steps are not something that are arbitrary. They're proven. I don't like taking longer either. But the thing is if you build the foundation, so then the house stands. If we skip this foundation, yeah, we can throw it up quickly, but it's not going to be something we'd feel comfortable living in for the rest of our life. So I appreciate everyone that gets like steps are important and understanding the phases. Tyler says, I wish I could convince my dad to watch this stuff. The trick there is tell him it's movie night and then just put this on instead. And then just don't say anything the entire time. Just kidding. I don't endorse that. If something happens as a result of that, I'm not responsible for the outcome, Tyler. Michael says, I think this lecture was made for everyone. Definitely was. Mario, good to see you. Let's see. Ryan says it's like breaking out of the matrix for the first time. I want to find French dining. Awesome. Awesome. Dan says his mind is blown. That's phenomenal. Okay, Tyler has a question. So Tyler asks, what's the best way to get my dad interested? He's following the mainstream way. He's convinced that it works. Best advice to talk to him. So that's a good question. And I know I kind of made a joke about that, but here's the thing is, like for me, when I look at the older generation, because again, I'm 28, I started doing this, guys, when I was 18. So I was 18 years old, sitting down with people that were 40, 50, 60 years old and talking to them about their money. When I first started, I was mainstream. So I was saying everything they agreed with. So they're like, good boy, little Jerry, you're repeating all of the right answers. We're not going to do business with you, but we appreciate you that you validate what we're already doing. When I switched, all hell broke loose because I would sit down with someone that's 50 years old and I'm 24, 25. And I'm like, hey, everything you're doing is backwards. And this is why. And they've got, $600,000 in mutual funds and they feel like they're doing well. And then I show them the math. I'm like, yeah, you're going to run out of that in 10 years and you've got it in this thing and it's the bad idea. And here's what you're going to pay in fees and all the other stuff. And I was surprised when some people wouldn't do it. In fact, more than not. So Tyler, to answer your question, the very best thing you can do is lead by example. So if your dad is doing the mainstream way, like you can show him this and give him the education. He's got to make his own decision and have his own wins to realize, he's either going to have wins on this stuff where he's like, wow, I watched this. It helped me so much. I want to know what's next. Or he's got to have big enough failures on what he's doing now to be like, I need to find something different. Okay. Your job though is to be the example. That's why our ambassador program, we call it an ambassador. An ambassador is someone that represents something. Doesn't mean that they pitch it. Like one of the things that kills me the most is we'll bring on ambassadors and affiliates and they'll promote posts and they'll share things that are invalidating to others. Like, hey, dumbass, I bet you didn't know about this problem with your mutual funds. Yeah, you might be right, but that bit of negativity and making that person wrong actually makes them more solid on continuing to do what they're doing. That's how humans work. So the best thing to do is represent. Like Josue said about me walking the walk. I'm all walk. You got to be all walk. You got to be doing every single step because what's going to happen is they'll look at you and see an ideal scene. They won't know what you're doing, but they're going to say, man, I want the life Tyler has. Tyler, like when the market crashes, Tyler doesn't ever seem stressed out. Why is that? Okay, COVID happens. Tyler didn't need PPP loans. What is he doing differently? And then they're willing to come talk to you. And then you don't have to say, this is what you should do. You can just say, this is what I've been doing. This is what I've been doing. That's the easiest way to share. This is what I do. And when they see that and they see the transparency and they see the stats and they see everything that's real, like that is why someone is going to switch from the mainstream to what you're doing. Ryan asks, what do you find is the biggest mental hindrance that mentally blocks people from moving away from a traditional financial advisor? Good question, Ryan. So that's something I kind of just covered. The biggest hindrance is actually the propaganda machine that is Wall Street and the banking industry. Okay. So the banking industry, they've been at this for over 100 years. So if you talk to a kid, I don't know if you have kids, Ryan, but if you ask your kids just nonchalantly, where do you save money? They're probably going to say banks. Doesn't reflect on your parenting. It just means that is the propaganda that's out there. So that's the biggest hindrance is people get dripped on. It's like Chinese torture, drip, 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 drip until they're 40, 50 years old. And then when it comes time to change, they're afraid. Okay, because they've done something for so long and everyone says it's the other way and everyone says it's this and everyone says it's that. And then they see that it's different, right? This happened for me with health. When my mom got sick, I was a bodybuilder. So I was all about macronutrients, calories in, calories out. My mom had cancer and I started looking at micronutrients. Okay, well, how much am I getting in like vitamins and fibers and antioxidants, all this important stuff, which is not mainstream. And then when I started doing that, it was kind of like I was violating some of the things I had learned in bodybuilding about you need to eat clean carbs and 6 times a day and all this. And I had like this, like I had to unprogram myself. So that's the biggest thing that I see is people are programmed. They don't realize they're programmed, but they are. Justin says negative equals consumer. Yep, that is true. Negativity is based on consumption with no production. Yeah, PFP. Michael's recommending that Mario take our PFP course. Excellent recommendation, Michael. All right, let's go ahead and see what we have on Zoom here for questions. Awesome. We've got a ton of questions on Zoom. So let me go ahead and switch my mics over here. All right, guys. So we're here on Zoom. Good to see everyone. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just see what we have for questions on Zoom, and we will answer those live tonight as usual. Get some live interaction with my friends here. Awesome. We have someone from India on Zoom tonight. That's awesome. He says, Jerry, you're one of the most honest persons I've ever come across. I am from India. Does what you say apply in India as well? So on this question from India, I am honestly not sure. I've never been to India. I don't know what your economy and financial tools are like. The general premises are probably very similar. So what I would recommend is get a copy of my book. So if you get a copy of my book here, Blueprints of Financial Freedom, you get the ebook so we don't have to worry about paying $700 shipping or whatever it is to ship this to India. Get the ebook, and the ebook will go over with you the steps, and then you can kind of piece together what you guys have over there and what you're able to do. Keith has some advice here. So I'm going to bring Keith on. Keith has an idea on Tyler's question. So let me go ahead and bring Keith on live here. All right, we're live with Keith. How are you tonight, Keith?
Very good. How about yourself, Jerry?
Good. Thanks for asking. So you had more of a comment on Tyler's question, but Tyler is on Facebook, so we can't see Zoom. I wanted to get you to share that so Tyler can kind of hear your perspective on it.
Sure. So Tyler, I'm actually an old guy trying to get his son, also interested. And, my recommendation would just be, have a forecast, have a plan, something that demonstrates what you think you can achieve in 10 years, and just ask his opinion. Have him take a look at it. And if he's humble enough, he'll look at it. He'll kind of stew a little bit over the numbers and go, that's pretty good. And then they'll talk. And if not, he'll probably at least just leave you alone. So that's my thought.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you, Keith.
You bet.
All right, let's see what other questions we have on Zoom here. That's another thing too I love about this. Okay, we have a question from Derek. A few more here. That's another thing though I love about the way that we do things. And I didn't hit this on the course, but the community aspect is big, right? So the idea that Keith was able to answer Tyler's question, that's part of what this is about. We do the community thing with Wealth Dynamics Nation, our texting app, our Zooms. We make sure that all of our clients are connected, because what I found for me personally was as I started doing the real way. And actually, this is Jimmy's question too. I'll hit this in a question in a second. But the real way to build wealth, when I started doing that, it's very lonely. It's a very isolated journey. So we're big on community, which leads into Jimmy's question. I'm going to bring Jimmy on live here now as well.
What's up, Jerry?
Live here with Jimmy. How are you doing tonight, Jimmy?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. So what is your question tonight?
Yeah, so when you were coming up, because I feel like I'm kind of in this stage where I'm getting passive income, I'm starting a business, my sales are going really well. What did you do when you were trying to find people to surround yourself? They say that your environment is what you become, essentially. And what did you do to either, what was the right thing you did? What was the wrong thing you did in your experience?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Jimmy is pretty close to where I was. So he's starting this young and he's killing it. He's already got several passive investments with us and he's got no consumer debt. And Jimmy is like 19, 20, 21 years old. Somewhere in that range. So I was around that age when I started doing this too. And for me, like I said just a second ago, it was initially one of the most lonely things I've ever done. Lucky for me, I was married already. My wife was on board with everything. She's been my partner in this all the way through. So we always kind of had each other. But even as a couple, we were like, wow, we have no friends that do this. We have no friends that are also following this track. There's nobody we can relate to. So the biggest thing that I had learned, and this helped me all the way through, is I had to realize that wasn't my destination. Doesn't mean don't have friends, but it means that I'm not parking and staying there. There's this idea of laying down your roots in life. If I'm trying to become financially free, that's really my destination, and my roots are wherever I need to go to make that happen. And so I need to be willing to reach out and connect with new people, even if they're people that are ahead of me. And I've also got to realize that for where I was trying to go, the people that were ahead of me had no incentive to spend any time with me. So I had to lead with exchange. I had to look at, all right, if I want time with this person that's maybe, you know, light years beyond where I'm at financially, but they're where I want to be at. What can I do to be valuable to them so that they're willing to spend time with a 22-year-old kid who really can't do anything and bring anything to the table? I'm not in their peer group, but they'd be willing to spend time with me because I'm valuable to them. So I started looking at that. A mistake that I made was I got really caught up in kind of an arbitrary quote that we've all heard is you're the average of the 5 people you spend your time with. I think that came from Jim Rohn, and I got really big into that. So I was like, where are my 5 people and how do I find them? And really love Jim Rohn, but that quote is based on nothing. It's based on his opinion. It really doesn't have any substantive, like, you know, historical, statistical meaning. And so I got really focused on, I've got to find my 5 people. I've got to find my 5 people because I'm the average of who I spend my time with. And the reality is that's not true. Okay, right now I've been in LA doing a lot of personal development. I spend my time with Lexi, my 2 dogs, and then the people that I'm doing personal development with. Like, I can't look at that and be like, that's the average of who I am, because it's not true. So the reality is that I'm the average of the information I have and what I do with that information. Okay, and connections and people can enhance my progress and they can make it funner and easier. But it's kind of like going to the gym, right? If I go to the gym, my workout is not based on the average of the people that are working out around me. It's based on what did I know about working out, and then what did I actually do when I got to the gym. And if I did that surrounded by friends, great. If I did that all by myself, great. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, did I do it? So those are some of the things that I had that were helpful. Some of the things that I did that were mistakes. I'm not perfect. Like I said, I'm 28. I'm still learning and growing as well. But those are things that I definitely could share. And then again, like, to kind of reiterate, get involved with our Wealth Dynamics community. This is literally like hundreds and hundreds of people that are like-minded, that have the same goals, that you can connect with. And it's about being willing to get outside that comfort zone and just say, hey, I'm Jimmy. I'm trying to find people to talk to about yada, yada, yada. Can we be friends? Can I connect with you? Can I whatever? And starting to build those relationships. All right, we have a question here from Derek. Let me go ahead and bring Derek on live. All right, so I've unmuted Derek. Derek, let me know when you are able to hear me.
I can hear you.
Awesome. How are you doing tonight, Derek?
This is Shirley, his wife.
Shirley, okay. I was gonna say you never know, so I didn't want to assume, but Shirley, it's good to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Awesome. So you and Derek had a question about a 401k distribution, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, cool. So what is your question?
I have a 401k plan at my previous employer, and I was thinking about withdrawing it, but I know about the option about the 72T distribution. That's one that you can take without getting hit with the premature penalty tax or the income tax. But my question is, if you choose the 72T option, will your money stop growing in the market? Does it stop? Or does it continue to perform with the market?
Okay, good question. And you said this is an old plan. It's not a current employer. Is that right?
It is not a current employer.
Okay, awesome. So I can definitely answer that. So Shirley is saying that they have an old retirement plan and they're looking at how to access it. So you can do a 72T. A 72T means that you're going to take the amount that's in there now and you're going to evenly distribute that over a fixed period of time. If you do that, the money that you're withdrawing is taxable as income, but you don't pay a penalty. Now, obviously, the money that you're withdrawing doesn't grow. Right? You're taking it out of the plan. The money that's still in the plan still does grow, and that's kind of factored into that 72T calculation. Now, Shirley, one thing that I would mention is a 72T is a way to handle it. I would actually look instead at something called a self-directed IRA. My team can help you look into that and see if that's a good option and help you either way, whether it's a 72T or a self-directed IRA. A self-directed IRA means that you're going to roll it into an individual retirement account, tax-free and penalty-free. And then you can actually invest that money in alternative assets like gold, silver, real estate, private lending. So there's a lot of things you can do with it and still keep that money tax deferred. Now, a lot of people don't know as a investor, once you become accredited, meaning you have $1 million net worth, excluding the value of your home, you can actually access that retirement money entirely tax-free. Even if it's a pre-tax account, there are ways to do that. So depending on your situation, the self-directed IRA might be a better move. It could very well be that the 72T makes sense as well, but I recommend reaching out to us. If you connect with me via email, jerry@wealthdynamics.com, or if you connect with Nano Aquino on my team, we can kind of jump on a call with you maybe and see what is the best option there. But very good question. All right, I think that is everything we have on Zoom. Let me see if we have any more questions on Facebook. Tyler Keith says, Keith, thank you for the advice. Josue says it can be lonely. You aren't kidding. Remember the end goal. And then Daniel just has a bunch of fire. I like that. All right, guys, I think that is all we have for tonight. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Again, if you are watching this and you have not gotten a copy of my new book, Blueprint to Financial Freedom, make sure that you do that. You can get that at jerryfetta.com/B2F. Again, that's the letter B, the number 2, the letter F. And then you can also jump on a call with us too. We jump on a call with you to get the book and help you kind of walk through the different steps. So I thank you guys all for tuning in tonight. Make sure that you tune again next week, and I will talk to you next time.